It's funny because when people talk about compatibility, they talk about, oh, we share the same hobby.
Yes.
Oh, we like the same shows. But when you talk, that's fine for when you're dating. But when you think about doing something long term, your compatibility should not base itself on that. It should be a matter of values. It should be a matter of vision.
They like the same music as you, fine. But that's not what's going to raise a family. You see my wife. I'd say polar opposites. Polar opposites. The goal is the same. The values is the same. When shit's going to be hard, money's going to be tight, you need someone that's going to be able to manage, that's going to have your back.
Maybe my partner isn't the best looking partner I could have had. But guess what? When I come home at night, this person holds me down. When I'm going through stressful things, they're always there.
It's very, very important to be self-aware when you're single and know what it is that you need in a woman or in a man. What are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? You're dating a person, what are they bringing to the table in terms of character?
I'm sick and tired of being lonely. Well, they that dude, he's not tall enough. They that dude, he's too light. They that dude, he's got a belly. They that dude, oh, he used to be a fat dude.
If you make those the cornerstones of why you will not be with somebody, you will limit. It's like trying to start a company and saying you won't hire employees because they wear red shoes on Sundays. People are being picky about things that are not important to what a longevity of a marriage or anything like that is.
You have to have the right things on your list. You know, the character things. Is he kind? Do we have the same life goals? Do we have the same values, the fundamentals? Do we enjoy each other? How do we communicate with each other? You know, somebody said to me, you know, this woman that I was really interested in wouldn't go out with me because I didn't read the same books that she did. But she's madly in love with this guy who reads the same books, but he doesn't call her when he says he will.
If these guys are not doing these stuff, it's because they're not that into you. Like, listen, if I'm gearing towards a relationship and I'm seriously trying to date people, I'm hitting them up early. I'm saying, hey, when are you available? Let's make plans. And I can guarantee you, most men are. If a man is into a girl, he wouldn't be like, hey, you available right now? And the girl's like, nah. And then he's like, all right, well, when are you available? That's what he's always going to ask afterwards almost all the time. Or if the girl tells him, hey, but I'm free Tuesday, the guy will be like, oh, let's try to find a date. But if you think men are just be like, hey, girl, you free? And the girl's like, nah. He's like, all right, deuces. He's not into you. Leave. Don't sit there hoping or waiting for them to change or be like, if you change, the option's always there. You don't want to be someone's plan B.
And when Mr. Right is actually going to come around, you're not even going to see him because you're going to be focused on that other dude.
Don't waste your time. Filter out folks based off your values and how they present themselves. Like if I go on a girl's IG page and there's just a bunch of thong pinks with her titty popping out and her with like diamond jewels, we don't share the same values. So I'm not going to mess it. The same way, if I look at some guy and he was standing beside jets and Lambos and hoods up, I'm probably like, that's not the kind of person I want to hang with. Most of my dating experiences are very positive because I try to go for people who are not in it for the wrong reason. I don't lead with the Tesla. I don't lead with all that stuff. That's not the way I do it. So I wouldn't even attract people who are into that. Sometimes what you look for in a partner is too restrictive and you are not allowing yourself to find out what you actually like in someone by discovering it. We discover we like things by actually trying them. Like cuisine. I didn't have sushi until 2 years ago.
Really?
I'm 29.
Wow.
Had sushi. I'm like, that's fire. Sometimes you just gotta take what's given to you and work with it. The best things in my life has always come from settling and compromise. So many people got in the comments, man, my partner maybe had 60% of what I thought I wanted, but now I'm so much happier than I ever thought I could be. It's like, of course. You would be shocked how much you will like your life when you humble yourself. That doesn't mean you compromise on everything, but on the things that are really not that important if you're being honest with yourself, which are just linked to your ego. Understand what your sense of self is. You know, what it means to be secure, what it means to actually have confidence. What does that really mean? It doesn't matter if 1,000 men compliment you. It doesn't matter if 100,000 men compliment you. That's not a real sense of security. Why? Because if those 100,000s of men stop complimenting you, you don't have security. Your foundation's built on sand, right? It has to be inwardly built. It cannot be external. Whether it's plastic surgery to make your ass and your titties bigger, okay? Whether it's amounts of monies because it's going to make you happy. Whether it's spending a lot, drinking a lot, doing lots of anything. When people try to sell you on excess, understand it's a pipe dream. If you need that kind of validation from the outside, it's not sustainable. Your beauty's gonna fade. Your looks are gonna fade. You have to find something else to really build on. The greatest things that you're going to enjoy in your life are going to be from things that don't even seem that tangible. from the struggles that you share with the people that you love and that you come through on the other side. That's what's going to deepen your bonds. What's going to make you feel rooted and connected. These YouTube numbers don't mean shit to me. But when I see someone in the street and they're like, bruv, I've never had any form of male guidance, but what you said in regards to treating some ladies with respect, to valuing myself and my own autonomy, that means something. All this talk of six-figure, man, if you need opulence to be happy, my friend, you are building a castle on sand. You know, growing up in the West, it's always about the individual. What are my needs? What are my needs? I really want a child. But what does that mean to have a child, to bring him in this world? It's just something that feels good. You never hear them talk about legacy. You never hear them talk about like generational wealth. You never hear them talk about like family traditions. None of that matters. Everything is about me. And there's a certain level of selfishness that comes in, which I think permeates to marriages. And that's why I think we fail so often, because we're like, well, what do I want? If your sense of fulfillment and joy comes from what they do for you, then it's kind of out of your control. Whereas when you get joy and pleasure from being able to give others, and it's always something you can choose to do each day.
Your wedding is one day.
Yup.
Your marriage is the rest. When the cake is cut, the dress is worn, and the flowers are faded, you have marriage. It's work. It's work.
When researchers talk about love and these concepts, right? They say that what makes couples love each other the most is not the happy moments, but how they come out of the very difficult times.
You see my parents. You've seen what they have.
You know,
they
listen.
got they back. Sometimes it was something that happened. My dad went back to school. My mom had his back. And my dad, whenever my mom was more difficult, this and that, health or whatever, whatnot, my dad had that. He had the back.
When I talk to people about what like a lifelong commitment is supposed to look like, they talk about love and happiness and all these other things. And I'm like, do you understand that's just a byproduct of reward, of duty, of responsibility?
Those feelings of love tend to stay and continue to happen when both people are fulfilling their role and doing their duties in the marriage. Things work out that you put effort into.
Everybody thinks that marriage is like 50-50. It's not 50-50. It's 100-100. You give 100% of you, I give 100% of me.
People hear obligation when it comes to things like marriages, and they're like, there should be no obligations in relationships.
You signed the papers for what, boo-boo?
You made the vows.
You made the vows. You signed the paper. There was a priest involved, a pastor. There was witnesses. You have the same motherfuckers elements as when you go to court. You got someone that prosecutes. You got witnesses. You got the signed motherfucker paper, and you got your sentence for life. And then you think there's not gonna be work?
But there's a reward to it. But you need to understand, it's labor.
When your happiness comes from a sense of fulfillment for doing the things that you're supposed to do to keep the marriage running, then I feel like that leads to much longer happiness as opposed to just, what can I get, what can I get, what can I get?
People think that by preaching like that, we put ourselves in a stance where we think we're better than y'all, whatever or not. No, we f***ed up. And if we say stuff like that right now, it's because we had to learn sometimes from the hard way. We've been like that. We recognize these behaviors in us as well, in me.
Yep. And we're constantly learning. I mean, I've learned so much from you. You know, like I say this, and I say this very comfortably, like in terms of like learning about relationships and friendships, like you've been one of the biggest sources of information and knowledge in that realm. And it's helped me to be better in my relationships, better in my friendships, better with people around me. And I think knowing that, it's like, oh, I get to undo a lot of the societal conditioning that I've had that's made me inherently selfish in some ways. I think the individual has lost sight of what it means to be part of a collective. And has lost the ability to understand that, like, sometimes my little wants have to take a backseat because I'm striving for something bigger.
You have to remind yourself, oh yeah, you know what? This is not about me. When you're bonded with your partner about legacy and you're now starting to plan and plot about, hey, what are we going to do for our kids? What are we going to do for our grandkids? What are we going to do? That changes the dynamic of how you see your partner. It changes the dynamic about what the institution of marriage is. It helps you understand that your marriage is connected to more than just your emotion, your feelings. It's connected to not just you, not just your kids, but your community.
I just know this, that I'm more powerful with other people. I know that. You know what I mean? On my flag, it's written "L'union fait la force," which the union is our power, and that's what it is.